This is a video that several of you have asked me to make, and basically the question is, hey Azul, can you talk about mental health and retirement? I think it's a super important topic. Thank you for suggesting that I talk about it. And let's go for a walk and talk about the role of mental health and how that might be impacted, or things you want to take into consideration if you struggle with mental health, and how that might impact things in retirement. So first I want to share that, I've got some family experience with mental health issues. I'm super sympathetic for it. I also want to share that when COVID first started, I had some mental health issues. It was really for the first time in my life, I dealt with anxiety and just super fear. I didn't realize it, but I had a phobia, still do probably, of dying alone, and unfortunately in the early days of the pandemic, if you caught COVID and unfortunately ended up in the hospital and ended up dying from it, you pretty much died alone. You didn't have your relatives and friends there. And that caused me a lot of anxiety. So I sought some medical help, and that was probably the best money that I spent. So, I think it's super healthy that now it's okay to talk about mental health issues. And unfortunately, the prepping for retirement and the transition of retirement can make mental health, can put a toll on your mental health. So, be prepared for that. Transitions are hard, and that was part of the thing with COVID too. Yes, I have a phobia about dying alone, but it was also, truthfully, I was yearning for my old life to come back. I was kind of, people would say, this is going to last 2 months. And I'd be, which is, in hindsight, obviously is a super short period of time. But I was like, I don't know if I could handle 2 months. I wasn't sleeping. I was super stressed. I had a knot in my stomach. I was worried. In fact, even, after I went to see a professional and they helped me with it, and candidly, I took medication for a couple months because of that. That helped calm me down and allowed me to heal. But even after I kind of overcame the majority of the stress, the fact that stress and that anxiety, it took 100 days about for my body to recover from that. So I know what it's like to live with stress. I know what it's like to live with anxiety firsthand, as well as, through family experiences. I've got some experience there. So, I know that transitions are hard when people are dealing with mental health issues, and transitioning from, working your whole life into retirement, that's a big transition, and that can be super stressful, and it could very well trigger worsening of some of the mental health challenges that people have. So I want to put that out there. It's almost like, when you go from college to your first job, right? For many of us, we'd been students our whole life, and we desperately wanted to hold on to our student lives, but it was time to launch and start. My daughters use the term adulting. It's time to start adulting. That's a big transition. So is the transitioning from being an adult working person to an adult that's retired. So it can be stressful. It can also be stressful. Mental health can make it harder to stay the course during scary times. When the market goes down a lot. 2008, 2009, the market was down over 50%, 50%, the S&P 500. That's a big move. During COVID, the market was down. It was the fastest decline ever in stock market history. The market was down 30% in just a little over 4 weeks. Again, that's a big move. And as you get closer to retirement, hopefully you've got more money. Let's say you've got, just for the sake of argument, $1 million saved up, and then all of a sudden the market drops. If it's like 2008, 2009, 50%, you lost $500,000. And for many of us, we were 40 or 50 until we saved $500,000. So, and it's just easy to look at that as, I was 40 years old. Do I have to work another 40 years? The good news is you probably don't, because one, the market likely, always had in the past, there's no guarantees, but is likely going to bounce back. But that stress of seeing your account go down like that, if you're dealing with mental health issues, I think is just going to be exaggerated, and it's going to be amplified. So, take that into account. when you're looking at your investments, what you really want to have is a long-term allocation, something you can stick with over time and not change. And if you're likely to suffer here, I'll give you a nicer view behind me. If you're likely to suffer from stress and anxiety normally, you want to take that into account. I also should share, you know, what I'm sharing today is not financial advice. It's just things for you to think about and things for you to put on your radar screen and maybe do additional research. I do think it makes sense to have a river guide with you for the journey, particularly, you know, if you suffer from anxiety and stress or some mental health challenges. Having somebody that you know is in your corner, that you know is on your side. You know, I talk about a fee-only financial advisor. I think that's super important. I think you want to have somebody that's a fiduciary to you 100% of the time, just like a physician would be or an attorney would be for you. A lot of people think all financial advisors are fiduciaries 100% of the time to their client. And the reality is, sadly, very, very few are fiduciaries 100% of the time. Most are fiduciaries some of the time, but not all of the time. And I call it wearing a white hat and wearing a black hat. And you don't want to be wondering, you know, is your advisor suggesting this because they make a bigger commission, or are they suggesting this because it's what's best for you? Okay, so let's keep going. The other thing, you know, depending on what the mental health issue is, it may be harder for you to trust people, right? And if that's the case, again, I think having somebody that's a fiduciary for you 100% of the time is key. And I think you should get that in writing, right? If somebody is a fiduciary 100% of the time, they're going to be super happy to do that. No problem at all. If they're not a fiduciary 100% of the time, they make it sound like they're a fiduciary 100% of the time, but they're really not. And they're going to give you all kinds of reasons why they're not going to give it to you in writing. So that's another thing to think about. And then in retirement itself, again, that's a big transition. It can be stressful in relationships, and relationships are super important to all of us. It's even more important if you're suffering from some mental health issues. You know, having family members that you know love you unconditionally, that you can take off the mask in front of and you can be yourself. That's super important to be able to do. And when you retire, you know, you're going to have the amount of time you're going to have to invest in relationships going to increase, which is a good thing. But you can maybe have too much time. So just be aware of that, right? It's great to have the time to invest in relationships, to spend quality time with people that can be helpful to you. But it's different, right? And having too much time could put stress on that situation as well. So that's another thing to think about. And then finally, you know, you've got the relationships, you've got these bonding experiences with these people, and you just want to leverage that, and you want to use that as a foundation. And, you know, mental health is just one piece. There's also the physical health part of it. And I would just encourage you to really, when you first retire, as you're preparing to retire, you know, it's going to give you more time. It's going to take less, it's going to be, your job hopefully is going to be less stressful when you know you can retire whenever you want. And take some of that time that maybe in the past, maybe you would have come in on the weekends or worked late at night. Maybe instead of doing that, you can invest in yourself. You can invest in your physical health, which, you know, is going to help your mental health as well. So take care of your health, eat as solidly and as healthfully as you can, and work out as much as you can, just to keep your body in good physical health. And that releases endorphins and other good things that are going to help make it easier for you to be in a good mental state. If you enjoyed today's video, I know you're going to enjoy this video here, which talks about average retiree income, in this video down here that talks about reasons to retire as soon as you can. I hope this video was helpful. If you're dealing with mental health issues, my heart is with you. I've been there as well. My time in the crucible, which is what I call it, was not that long. It was only a couple hundred days. I'm going to point to these videos again, the retirement video and the retire as soon as you can. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button for me. Thank you. Bye-bye.